Welcome to Awkward Chats, where we take you on a hilarious journey behind the scenes of our travel adventures, and it can get a little awkward.
I'm Nacy.
And I'm Gary.
And together, we make up Lost Girl in Tomorrowland, our YouTube channel, where we go on fun adventures all across the U.S. But that wasn't enough. We wanted a place where we could talk about the real behind the scenes that goes into producing our channel.
Awkward Chats is your ticket to the real, unfiltered side of our travel adventures and a place where we can start your awkward conversations.
So buckle up and get ready for an adventure full of laughter, mishaps, and of course, awkward topics.
You can find new episodes every month, everywhere you get your podcast. This is Awkward Chats.
Yeah, so welcome back to another On the Road episode, as you can see by the backdrop.
Yeah, we're on the road, and we're talking about our trip to San Francisco. Definitely a legit spoiler here is that we had a great time in San Francisco.
We really did, and there are going to be tons of videos up on the channel, so if you guys want to physically watch all the crazy adventures we had and everything we're going to talk about today, because this is going to be a little bit more in-depth than what we show on the channel, go check it out.
Yeah, so if you want to watch us on YouTube, it's Lost Girl in Tomorrowland. And if you want to listen to our podcast or watch our podcast, it's Awkward Chats. And that's anywhere you get your podcasts. Spotify, Apple wherever.
Wherever. We're everywhere.
Right? So we're going to talk about the big bus, right? And the big bus is in most major cities that are touristy.
Yeah.
You'll see like a huge bus that goes around and it stops at specific places and kind of gives you the opportunity to see the city all in like an enclosed sort of
ride
loop.
adventure.
Yeah.
You don't have to think about like, well, how am I going to Uber from here to there necessarily? But they had one in New York City, which we did not do. They have them in Las Vegas, and I'm pretty sure they have them anywhere there's like a lot of touristy things kind of clustered together.
Agreed.
And San Francisco wasn't any different. However, I will preface it with this. San Francisco is bigger than you think it is. And the bus from start to finish was 3 hours.
Well, this will blow your mind too. It's like bigger and smaller than you think it is. It's kind of definitely a weird quagmire San Francisco is.
Yeah, if you're just in a car driving from point A to point B, it's actually pretty quick. But on the bus, it took 3 hours to do the circle. And we didn't know that when we started our bus adventure. We had the idea, we bought the bus so we could see the lay of the land, kind of get an idea of what we wanted to see, what we wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And then we would take it to the second round and we would get off. We learned you can't do that on the big bus in San Francisco because it starts at about 10 a.m. and it finishes at 5 p.m.
I think it actually starts at 11 a.m.
Somewhere in there.
But yeah, it's only open for like 6-7 hours max.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, so we're going to take the bus. We took it all the way around. Now, one thing, they forgot to give us the headphones. When we got on
they
the
didn't
bus.
give us any headphones. And we're like up there, they started the bus trip and I'm like, are they talking or like, are they because I don't know what's going on. So it's just us in the wind. We're just like, this is fun. When are we going to know when we get to a stop? Because like they stop. But you don't know if it's like a stop, and we're just like, okay, this is cool. I don't know what I'm looking at.
So legit tip, make sure to grab those headphones when you get on the bus so you have an idea of what's going on. Now, the tour was kind of neat. It did tell stuff about the city. You kind of learned some interesting facts.
Very generic, though.
Yeah, it's very generic. The bus stops. Now, we'll start with the bus stops. They were bad.
Yeah, majority of the bus stops were not marked.
So you don't really know where the stops are going to be. I taped all of them on our camera, so you'll see if you watch our video on Lost Girl in Tomorrowland, you'll actually see all of the bus stops for San Francisco. It's kind of weird because they're not near what they talk about. Now, a great example of that is the Painted Ladies. So the Painted Ladies are the opening of Full House. If you're a 90s kid, you know Full House. You know the Painted Ladies is basically they're in a park and the Painted Ladies are across the street from the park. And that's the opening to Full House. That's all of our childhood memories.
Yep.
And then the actual house that they have for Full House, the outside of it, is supposed to be close to that. Mm-hmm. Neither of those things are true, in case you're wondering. But the bus tour makes it seem like they are.
They actually drop you off on a sketch alleyway about 3 blocks away, and downhill.
And it smells like sewer.
To get there, you got to walk uphill. And it's a little confusing, in all honesty. And the only reason we figured it out is because we actually took an Uber to that location.
Well, so we took the train, we took the bus around the city, right? So we did the whole full tour. It was awesome going across the Golden Gate Bridge.
Which was psycho, actually. That part was psycho. The first one.
That kind of makes it worth it to me. If you're going to do this, that is the best part of the trip. Was going over the Golden Gate Bridge. By far was the best thing that we did.
Yeah. It was
on the bus.
It was definitely interesting. He was on the outside, I was on the inside, and I was fearing for my life because the first time we went over going about 65 miles an hour.
Yeah, that bus was like remember the cab ride from Scrooged? And Bill Murray's in the back and he's like,
that's what it felt like.
That's what it felt like going over that bridge.
Completely unhinged. Like it was scary. I was fearing for everything. Cause you're high, like that bridge is high and then it's just water and we're not buckled in. There's no buckles on this bus. You're in an open thing. If he hit a bump going fast enough, people would have flown. I mean, it was scary for like a second. And then he slowed down cause he saw the cop, and on our way back the opposite way, he was only going about 30.
Which the speed limit is 35 on the bridge, in case you're wondering. And you've never been there. So that was amazing. We got back to the
views were amazing too, yeah.
The views were amazing, yeah. We got back to the beginning and we got off the bus because you have to get off the bus at the beginning and switch buses because it doesn't just keep going, which is definitely
fascinating.
An interesting piece to it too. So we got off the bus and we're standing there. We're like, do we want to ride this again?
Yeah.
Or do we want to just take an Uber to the couple spots that we wanted to go to because it'll be quicker? And we're like, Uber, because it was already at that point. Let's see.
I think it was 1 o'clock. Because we
I think it was like 1:30. Yeah, that we got back there, and it was already that, and it closes at 5. So we're like, all right, let's grab a bite to eat. So we went to Bowden's, which so good. Watch that on our YouTube channel.
Best food we had in San Francisco.
Sourdough. Well, the Chinese food was really tasty too. I don't know. Yeah. We had a few good meals.
Yeah.
But Bowden was definitely really good. We went upstairs and had the fancy dining experience, which, in case you didn't know, Bowden's has 2 different experiences.
There's an upstairs and there's a downstairs. Downstairs is like a quick service, like Panera-esque style with like sandwiches, soup, salads, nothing crazy.
Upstairs is like fancy, which we weren't dressed for.
No, we were not. We were just like, hey, what's up? I heard you got food and I have money.
The steak sandwich was fantastic.
Yeah, it was delicious.
The bread, to die for.
So then we were like, okay, do we want to go hunt down these locations? Because we had a handful of locations that we wanted to get on camera. And one of them was the Full House, which weirdly enough, people tell you is close to the Painted Ladies. It's not.
It's not.
It's not. It's a good 15-minute walk, maybe 20-minute walk of like uphill, downhill.
I think it's a 30-minute walk and it was a 10-minute ride.
Yeah, the streets of San Francisco are insane. I don't know how people do it, but
we wanted to go to Chinatown because we wanted to see we found that they had a fortune cookie place, which was awesome seeing.
And then we wanted to see the Painted Ladies, and then maybe go back to Tiffany's.
Well, no, and then maybe we had museum was the next one, but yeah, you did at Tiffany's when you saw that at the bus stop.
Yeah, there's a Tiffany's in San Francisco, and we didn't go to Tiffany's, so spoiler alert there, we didn't go. But
so we took a cab or an Uber, Lyft, whatever. Took that to Chinatown, went to the fortune cookie place. Really cool.
The fortune cookie place was amazing, honestly.
The fortune cookies were super tasty too.
And it was really cool watching them hand make these fortune cookies. And legit tip, didn't know this going into it, found out later, you can have like a custom fortune made and put into a cookie.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're looking for a cute way to propose to someone, I mean, why wouldn't you just put, like, will you marry me in a fortune cookie? I mean, that's really cute, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Or, like, happy anniversary. Or, like, put, like, little memories or something and have them open up all the cookies. I mean, it's a romantic gesture, just saying. But they were fresh, hot off the press, delicious fortune cookies.
And you get free ones, too. They give you free unfolded fortune cookies, too, just for going there. So worth it.
Delicious. Best fortune cookies I've ever had.
And then Chinatown was really cool to see. It reminded me of like a Jackie Chan, like New York City scene with like he's in Chinatown and you're like looking at China. It was really kind of really cool.
Definitely out of my element. I don't speak any other language really other than English. So, but I think it would be awesome to explore that area further. They do have like food tours of Chinatown, which I think maybe might be something we explore the next time we go to San Francisco.
And we're going to talk about different tours too later in our
Yeah.
podcast. So if you're on YouTube watching this, definitely check out Awkward Chats because we're going to talk about some of the other tours that we found too later on. But then we headed out of Chinatown. We got another
Uber, and we went
and
to
that was
the,
an experience too. We'll talk about it.
yeah.
But we went to the Full House house.
Yep, we went to Full House, which is for sale again. Didn't know that until we got there, and it doesn't quite look like it did in the show because they have repainted the outside.
And they haven't been maintaining it either. It was a little bit run down.
But you do know it is the house because everybody stops there, and there's definitely signage that says, "Please do not disturb. People live here." I think you accept that though. If you buy a house that was used in production, you accept the fact that people are gonna circle outside your door.
Yeah, the lady that was there was actually sneaking out to her car because they were moving. So they're in like the midst of it. She's like sneaking out and like everyone sees you. If they wanted to talk to you, they would just talk to you. I don't get it. If you buy a screen used house, I feel like that's just something you accept is that like people are going to come and see it. You either accept that and put a donation box outside or you just become a miser and that doesn't help anybody.
Yeah, I would love, like, I mean, if I ever won the lottery, I would totally buy a screen used house and I would make it obviously a movie that I liked or a show that I liked. And I would try to make it like the show as much as I possibly could.
Yeah, agreed. But the house was cool.
Yeah.
We saw it. You know, it takes you like 5-10 minutes if you really love the show. If you're not vlogging it or anything, you probably take a couple of pictures and you're heading out.
Yeah.
So we're like, it's got to be close to the Painted Lady because when we were on the bus, it said like, this is where the Full House, and you've had like the song intro, and it's like, this is right here. So we look up the Painted Ladies, and it was like a 30-minute walk, and we're like, okay,
let's just get another Uber.
do we do the walk or do we take an Uber? And it was like, let's get an Uber. So we Uber up to this park. The park was beautiful.
Yeah, gorgeous park.
Gorgeous views of not only San Fran, but just like even the surrounding area you could see from the park. Really, really pretty. We're there. We did we got in the Full House area. We took a shot where they would have the thing. We didn't go up to the houses because it's the same exact house as the Full House house. It's just they're painted.
Yeah.
Really pretty. We get there and then we're sitting there like, okay, so where's the bus stop at?
Because we saw people from the bus that we were on that morning.
Yeah, we did.
We're like, okay, these people were definitely on the bus with us this morning. Let's go figure out where the bus stop is. And we eventually found it.
Yeah, it has an app that can semi-direct you to it. The app said that this bus stop was in front of the muraled wall, which was really just a spray-painted wall with tags on it. It wasn't a mural wall,
and it smelled bad.
And it smelled like sewage. Yeah, there was a sewage leak. Yeah, it was really nice.
And there was no signage that said, like, big bus stops here.
The only signage that you'll see is if you look at the curb, it does say no parking here for whatever
buses only or something
like
that.
And whatever their transportation. I think it's like AS something or something like that it'll have there. That's the only thing that's signage. There's no like seats. There's no like bus stop sign. Nope. There's no nothing.
And we waited 30 minutes for that bus.
And so they're supposed to come every 15. That's what they advertise. They're supposed to come every 15. So we walked there and it took us probably about 20 minutes to walk there from the park. So we're like, oh, we didn't see a bus because you could see the buses. We could see the road we're going to. We were up at the top of the hill. We had to get to the bottom and get to the stop. So no one came that 20 minutes. Then we get there and I'm like, okay, so there's got to be somebody close by.
And then I'm looking at the app and there's 2 buses that are eventually making their way there.
Eventually, yeah, an hour later.
So the first bus comes. Everybody loads
after an
up.
hour, by the way.
Everybody loads up onto this bus, and I was like, "There's a second bus." And sure enough, the bus driver was like, "There's a second bus coming," and I was like, "Let's go wait for the second bus."
Yeah,
so we got off.
Good decision.
It wasn't even 5 minutes later. The second bus showed up. Nobody was on that bus.
Yeah, there's maybe like 5 people.
Yeah, it was an empty bus.
My favorite part is they don't wait for everybody to seat because I was the last person on the bus because there was only me and her left. We get on the bus. I'm up to the back. I'm almost to my seat, and then all of a sudden he punches it. My face almost face planted into the seat.
Yep.
It's like no student loans, but it didn't happen. Just missed.
That's his new mantra.
If I had lost some teeth, there'd be no student loans. So then
he'd be like, "Toothless Gary."
They pay for my veneers and my student loans. That's all I need. So we went over the bridge again. And so the reason why we got back on the bus is we had a decision to make. Either we go to a museum, which we were looking at, there's an aquarium on the pier,
Yep.
which was like $35, or we go to the Museum of Science in San Francisco, which was $45.
But here's the kicker. They both closed at like 6 o'clock.
Yeah, what's up, San Francisco? Why does everything close so
And
early?
I think it was 4:30 at that point. And we were like, by the time we get there, it's going to be 5. And then we're going to get, what, an hour?
Yeah. So we were like, well, one thing we can do, oh, you can hear the grandfather clock. One thing we can do is go over the bridge again. And we already paid for that, so why not go over the bridge one more time?
So we did.
And it was fun. I love the bridge.
It was a lot of fun. The bridge was probably the best part of that tour.
You could see Alcatraz. You can get the change of temperature.
Oh, yeah, it's cold.
The view. It's not as high as the Pat Tillman Bridge in Las Vegas that looks at the Hoover Dam, but it is super high above the water, which was really cool.
I will say this, though. On our second go round coming back from the bridge, I did hear about Lucas Arts.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh yeah, that's right. That's supposed to be somewhere around here. So it did inspire us to do another adventure in that area the next day or maybe the day after.
Yeah, and if you want to hear about that, definitely Awkward Chats podcast.
Yeah. So.
But the bus tour, was it worth it? I guess it comes down to, because we got back, and that was the end. It was 5 o'clock. That was close.
I think the bus tour is worth it if you don't have any plans for the day and you're fully committed to the bus. I would say that. I would preface it with that. If you have to be fully committed to the bus. If you're somebody who's interested in the financial district, it did spend a lot of time down there. So if you're really into like the big old buildings that they have down in the financial district, perhaps. I would say the stop for Chinatown isn't really close to Chinatown. And honestly, none of the other stops outside of the financial district and the Presidio, where it stopped over at the Presidio in the Walt Disney Family Museum, those are really the only 2 stops that were relatively close to anything. Everything else, you're going to be walking a decent amount.
I would just say, honestly, if you want to go over the Golden Gate Bridge in a very cool experience, yes. Otherwise, no.
So take that for what it is.
No. Because it's just, it would be so much easier just to Uber and stuff, in my opinion. It would save you money and you'd have a better experience.
And we didn't have a rental car this go around because we weren't going to rent a car. So that was also another reason why we decided to do the bus transportation system, because we didn't have a car. So keep that in mind.
So that's going to be it for the bus part of our podcast. If you're listening to us on Awkward Chats, we'll be back in a moment. But if you're listening to it on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up if you liked it.
And if you guys want to hear more about our San Francisco trip, make sure you check out the podcast in full because we're going to be talking about it.
Yeah, and you can also subscribe to that channel.
And ring that notification bell so you get notified when we do at least 3 videos a week.
And we'll come and get you all for the next one.
Ain't that the truth, baby Ruth?
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
All right, now we talked a little bit about our bus trip, which again, if you want to see everything, get a good little tour, it might be worth it. You just kind of got to weigh those pros and cons. Now we're going to talk a little bit about just kind of the general experience. So we got there the first day. We were staying by the pier.
We stayed at the Marriott Fisherman's Wharf, San Francisco. So if you're looking for it, that's the name of the hotel. I would say it wasn't the worst Marriott because it's Marriott proper. It wasn't the worst Marriott we stayed at. We got a lot of really cool amenities staying there. We got free ice cream sundaes. Only one. Only one per person.
One per person, yeah.
But to be fair, we shared the one that we did get, and we just never went back and got our second one. We got free water bottles, both of us. That said
reusable, collapsible.
Yeah, Marriott. It said Marriott Fisherman's Wharf or something like that.
I think it's in Marriott San Fran.
We also got 2 free cable car tickets, which was really cool. And they had bike rentals that you could rent for free. That was like included in your like resort fee. Basically, all this was included in your resort fee. So you do pay for it, but I don't know, take it for what you want.
Right.
And because I am a Marriott Platinum, we got free breakfast, which honestly, it depends on how you weigh it, because the only alternative was I would have got 1,000 Marriott points. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go with because it was $40 a person for the breakfast.
Something like that, yeah.
So I was like, even if we just do this like 2 days that we're here out of the 5, I'll, it's a win for me versus the 1,000 points. I'm like, the 1,000 points is really like a drop in the bucket. And I was like, who knows? Maybe we'll be up early. Maybe we'll get breakfast. The breakfast was pretty minuscule for what it was worth, for what they charged, I should say. And then I can't remember what else we got. I think that was it.
Doesn't matter. If you want to see a full review of us walking around, definitely check us out on Lost Girl in Tomorrowland on YouTube. But the pier was worth it because we were so close to like everything. The Ghirardelli Square was close by, which is why we got the free ice cream. It was supposed to be Ghirardelli ice cream. The sea lions were super close by. The tram cars were close by. So it was a good location for what we were planning on doing. We didn't have a car, so we didn't have a rental or anything at that time. We actually returned our car at the airport.
And
then got there and didn't have a car the whole time. So we used basically Ubers, Lyfts, and the big bus.
And we walked. And that was one of the benefits of where that hotel was, is like you could pretty much walk down to everywhere that you wanted. It wasn't super hilly, the area that we were in, because we were pretty low to the water to begin with. But honestly, it was a good hotel. It was small. But if you guys want to check out the full review, definitely check out the video, and we definitely do an in-depth review of that hotel.
So we went down to the piers the first night, and we saw the sea lions. We actually saw them when there was a record amount of sea lions in there. There was over 1,000 sea lions there.
The news was there to talk about it.
So when we came close to it, it was interesting because you get a wet dog smell. There's a huge wet dog smell
as you're walking
down. It makes a little seafood. And then you get down and it's just these tubelards laying on these pieces of wood going the whole time. Oh, it's great. They're fantastic.
They just like wallow over each other and then they're like, and we spent like a good hour just watching them. We didn't even do anything. We just like watched them, took pictures, took some video.
One of the best parts of our trip, gotta be honest.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna live forever in my Facebook profile for sure. And we had talked to the concierge about dinner and like recommendations, and she recommended the seafood place. There was also like a discount card she gave us too
with her name on it.
Yeah, so we went down a little bit further into the pier. We watched this guy do a magic show, which was interesting. I loved it because I got to be involved.
It was cute, but he's definitely a street performer. Yeah,
it was cheesy, but we didn't have anything else to do, so we were just like, let's just sit back and enjoy it. And then we went and found some dinner, which initially we thought was really good.
Yeah, until I got food poisoning later.
And he was violently vomiting later that night.
All my scrimpies came back up.
Yeah. It's always sad when you're like, that food was good, and then a couple hours later, you're hugging the toilet.
Hugging the toilet for sure.
So that was day one.
That was day one.
And day 2 was when we hit up the bus that we just talked about.
Yeah, and we did the Golden Gate, which was, again, as I said before, and I'm going to reiterate this, it was so worth it just to drive over the Golden Gate in a double-decker bus. Now, if you could do that a different way without having to spend 3 hours on a bus, do it. But it was really cool just going over that bridge. Yeah,
because you're taller than any of the other cars.
Yeah. And the wires and stuff don't get in your way for pictures, so you're up there and you can take pictures and stuff. It's beautiful.
It was definitely a different experience. So that was day 2, which like we talked about in the preview, everything we did on day 2. Day 3
was Alcatraz. So the boat, we walked there from our hotel. That's how close our hotel was.
Yeah.
A nice little walk.
It was actually a little longer than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, but it wasn't bad.
It's pretty flat.
We get there. The boat over was cool. It's kind of interesting. It reminds me a lot of the Disney boats.
Yeah, it was like the friendship boats.
It definitely has that like friendship boat. Other than it has a like calf downstairs, and they do sell alcohol there. It reminds me of the friendship boat. It's a lot longer of a ride, but it reminded me of them.
And it is double decked, so like you can go up on the roof, which we did not because it was cold. And we were tired, and we were like, we're going to be doing a lot of walking. I'm just going to sit this one out.
Well, and we've seen it from all sides. So we've seen it from the other side of the Golden Gate Bridge. We've seen it from our hotel room. We've seen it from the piers. Oh, we also went to that museum the first day too with the
Oh yeah, the
arcade games and stuff
carnival arcades. Yeah, that was down on Fisherman's Wharf.
before we saw the sea lions.
It's pretty cool,
Yeah, it was
actually. We
pretty
did
awesome.
it's in the video. We didn't play any of the games. We just kind of walked around and looked at it. Definitely made me feel Bob's Burgers. I kept saying that
Yeah,
a lot. I was like, I feel like I'm in Bob's Burgers.
So we take this boat out to Alcatraz. The boat ride's fun. You get to Alcatraz. What do I feel about Alcatraz? You first.
Um, Alcatraz was interesting. So Alcatraz is a part of the national park system. It used to be, before it was a prison, it was a military fort, and it was also a military prison. And then when the military had no more use for it and they needed, to do something with it, they decided to turn it into Alcatraz, the prison. And if you guys know anything about Alcatraz, like some people, quote unquote, infamously escaped from Alcatraz, which was supposed to be next to impossible because it's just a giant rock surrounded by dark, murky waters that have sharks and seals. And not that seals are going to hurt you, but it's very
Right.
tidy. Like there's a lot of currents. However, I did find this out. You can swim from Alcatraz.
Yeah, it's a whole excursion that we can talk about when we get to the kind of excursions that we found.
I don't know that that's a thing I would do, but you can experience escaping from Alcatraz, I guess, in a way. But it's a national parks. It's part of the National Park Service. They've turned it into a national park for what it is. It's mostly like birds and plants. There is a small section of what you look at that is part of the prison, and it is a little bit of a tour. The tour part was interesting, although I think it could have been better. I thought they did a good job for what they did, but there were definitely areas that they could have improved upon. There were a lot of inaccuracies, I think, as to like who was housed where, and also how we paint the prison system in this country. And we don't typically get very political here unless it's Disney. But I am not a fan of how we do our prison systems in America. So going to Alcatraz was a bit of I don't know. I don't know how to put it. It was interesting to see, but it wasn't like, yeah, I'm jonesing to go back there.
Yeah, a lot of it's falling in disrepair. So a lot of like the exterior buildings and stuff are definitely collapsing. They've given back to like the animals, mostly birds, but they've given those back. The areas that you can explore, like the jail, does have like a 30-minute
Yeah.
like recording. They give you like a headset, you get like a Walkman, you walk through, and it's very informative but very surface level. Like here's Broadway, this is Broadway, here's Times Square, this is Times Square, and then they explain what that means.
If you were a prisoner here, you'd walk down this aisle.
And that was kind of it. I wish it would like have different ones where like this is what a typical guard day walks does, and you put them on, you can like walk through the steps of a guard. Here's what an inmate would do, and then you'd walk through that, and so you get a little bit more of like what's going on. But that's it. That's kind of
Yeah.
it. That's the only real sort of informative thing you have. It was a military base, like she said, and the prison for the military base was actually a hole in the ground. So they dug a hole in this one area, and that's where they threw the prisoners. So they clearly didn't have that many prisoners, or they didn't care. And the rest of the island was a military base. They don't talk about that at all
No.
beyond that little snippet. And then the prison, they have like these huge facilities where the inmates used to work, but there was only 200 inmates at a time
Yeah.
at the island, and it really doesn't make sense why there were such huge buildings that the inmates worked at. Where did they get all the labor for that? It just
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that are kind of like
Supposedly, though, Alcatraz had one of the best foods in any of the prison systems.
it's so surface level that it's just kind of like, okay, you get some information, but I don't know. I guess I'd like more. And
Yeah.
it kind of made it a little
Meh.
meh.
It was kind of a meh.
Most of the time you're there, you're walking up a hill. That's going to be your most of the time that you spend on Alcatraz is actually getting up to the prison, which is a pretty steep incline. They said it's
Very
like
much so.
13 stories, and it's like within like 200 yards or something, you're going up 13 stories. So it's a really steep incline. They do have a tram for those with disabilities to get you up to the top. So don't worry about that. If you are disabled or have any mobility issues, they can actually get you up to the top on a tram. So don't worry about that. But
And
if you walk
legit
it,
trip.
it's a good exercise.
Legit tip, if you're going to a national park and you are disabled, you can apply for the lifelong disability National Parks Pass.
Yeah, and it gets you in for free.
I haven't done mine yet because we forgot our letter.
Yeah, it's in our storage unit now.
So maybe one day. But yeah, so we spent about 2 hours, maybe 3 on Alcatraz.
Yeah.
Walking around, looking at all the things, doing the things. A lot of it was self-guided. A lot of it was
99.99% is self-guided. Yeah, there's not much to it.
I think you might be able to. It sounded like during the day they had special people in certain parts where you could listen to them talk about certain things, but you would have to hang out like all day in Alcatraz to hear them talk.
The only presentations they have were in that lunchroom. They occasionally do presentations in the lunchroom, but there's no other place that they're at. You can get a guided tour, but it's limited to like 30 people, and there's only like 2 of them a day. So good luck getting one. They also have a nighttime tour that's guided.
Oh yeah.
And
Which
that's
we
another
talked
option
about.
you
Did we want to go during the day? Did we want to go at night? I'm like, well, let's go during the day the first time, and then.
Well, it's better for our cameras to go during the day, so that's why we decided during the day.
So then we headed off of Alcatraz, got back on the boat, and pretty much got the same seat that we did the last time.
Yeah, you did.
There were seals though in the water.
Yeah.
We were watching them as we kind of came back in, and then we went back to Bowden's.
Yeah. You call them Bowden's, whatever it is.
We don't know how to say it.
We did the quick service this time.
Yeah.
Oh, it was just as good.
It was just as good. It was delicious. And I think that was day 3 because we were pretty tired after that.
Yeah, I want to say, I think we went to Ghirardelli Square that night, didn't we? Is that the night we went to Ghirardelli Square?
I honestly don't remember.
I think that's the night we went to Ghirardelli Square.
And did we have that dinner that we didn't like?
Yeah, we had the dinner at there's a Rainforest Cafe, but it's not Rainforest Cafe, but it's one of those in that group of Rainforest Cafe. And it was at Ghirardelli Square, and we went there, and it was meh.
It was meh.
But Ghirardelli Square was interesting. So Ghirardelli Square is where Ghirardelli's used to be.
Oh, wait, no, we went to Ghirardelli the day we rode the cable car, right?
I don't know. So Ghirardelli's different, right? It's where it used to be the chocolate factory. So the chocolate factory is now actually on like Pier 30 something.
Yeah.
This is where it used to be. So it's an old building. They still have some of like the chocolate remnants there. There's still a chocolate store there, but it's more kind of like trying to be like a downtown Disney type of thing. It doesn't do it very well.
No, it's very small.
But that's what they're trying for there.
Yeah. And then, that was pretty much it for that day. We just kind of meh.
And we took it easy. And then the next day we went and rode the tram cars.
Yeah. We did the trolley cars, and we did one other thing before the trolley cars. What did we do before the trolley cars?
Yeah, I don't remember. We did do something.
We did something before the trolley cars because we were like, well, we got to make it back over here to see the trolley cars. And I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, we considered doing the trolley cars the same day we did Alcatraz, but we were just kind of tired after we got out of Alcatraz. So we were like, what did we do? Gosh, I don't remember. But anyways, the trolley cars, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, the trolley cars were really cool.
So we took an Uber all the way to the end of the trolley cars. And at the end, they actually spin them around to get them back on track.
By hand.
By hand. So the 2 people in the trolley cars jump out. There's a third person that's always there. And then those 3 people sort of spin with their hands and spin them onto the track. It was really cool.
I figured out what we did.
What did we do?
We missed the Walt Disney Family Museum.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so...
Well, we'll come back. We'll finish the tram, and then we'll talk about the Walt Disney Family Museum. So we took the tram from that spot, basically by the Tiffany's is where it was.
Yep.
And we took that all
the way up,
all the way to Pier,
and then down.
The pier.
Yeah, it was a very scenic route, which was awesome.
The weirdest part is we got outside seats, and some German lady decided to join us on the outside seats. But instead of being like, close your legs, she just stood between my legs.
Yep.
It was a little awkward.
He was
this
like,
old German lady. All right, this is what we're doing.
It's public transportation.
Yeah, so make sure you close your legs if you see people jumping on the train. But it was really fun. Like going up the hill, going down the hill, seeing all the stuff it was just, honestly, it was amazing.
Yeah, it was a great memory for sure. And I was a little nervous because I wasn't sure how fast we were going to go downhill. But it actually did really well. And it was really cool watching them operate the brake system from within the train itself, like that whole process. And then legit tip, if you are interested in doing the cable cars when you go to San Francisco, just buy the pass.
in the app, the transportation app.
Yep.
You can buy a pass for a day or a week or whatever, and it's much cheaper than just a trip.
Yeah. 10 out of 10. I would do it again.
10 out of 10. So then we forgot to talk about the Disney Family Museum. So we did that in the morning.
Yeah, we did the Walt Disney Family Museum, which honestly was really interesting. I actually forgot that this place existed. And then we were just kind of doing a little bit of research about San Francisco, and somebody went there, and I was like, oh crap, we should definitely add that to the to-do list. It was an interesting museum.
So a couple cool things there. They have the machine that they used to make the animated movies back in the day. So it's like a multi-tier layer system, and then they had the whole thing in there taking a picture.
That was how they made the 3-dimensional shot.
Yeah, for the cartoon movies.
Yeah, Snow White was one of the first ones that they did.
And then they had the bench that Walt sat on, where he supposedly came up with the idea for Disneyland.
Yep.
So we got to sit on that bench.
And they had a lot of like old Disney. They talked a lot about like Disney animation, and they talked about like where Walt came from, his history, the Disney family itself, the creation of the Walt Disney Corporation, all the different animator issues that they had. I mean, at one point in time they went on strike, and a lot of the different things that happened at the Walt Disney Animation Studios, which was interesting. They talked about a lot of their early works.
Yeah, they had the Disneyland actual model of Disneyland, which is really cool.
And sadly, it ends with Walt's death.
Yeah, you get the Walt's death and like how the world reacted to it. Some of the like famous pictures of like the Earth crying, or like Mickey being shoulder rubbed by like Kermit and stuff, and like it was really cool. It was really cool.
And we talked about this on the last podcast. I love old Disney. I love old Disney because that was a different time. That was the company was a different company back then. So yeah, it was interesting to kind of take a step back in time and sit on that bench. And also you get an amazing view of the Golden Gate Bridge from over there.
You do get a really great vantage point. And then they have like especially from the like display. So they have like a secondary display in the secondary building. If you go outside that building, you walk down a little bit down this hill, there's nice benches there that you can sit at and just like stare at the bridge. Perfect.
And it's like beautiful weather there, like almost all the time, which is, we love California.
Yeah, it was really fun going to the Disney Museum. And then we made the hike to Lucasfilm.
Yeah, we went we walked from the Disney Family Museum over to LucasArts, which wasn't too bad of a walk. It was about 15-20 minutes.
Yeah, it was a nice little walk from it's called the Presidio. Presidio is where the Walt Disney Family Museum is, and then there's this other sort of old hospital, what it used to be, and that's where Lucasfilm is located. And
we weren't 100% sure if it was still LucasArts or if they had actually moved, but it is still the headquarters for LucasArts. Now, they do have other campuses around the country and around the world, but that is like their main headquarters, I think.
Well, it used to be. Now Disney is their main headquarters. Now it's owned by Disney, so Disney would be the main headquarters.
But the cool thing is they have a Yoda fountain outside.
So that's what we went there for. We went there to find a Yoda fountain.
Yeah.
And we did. We found him.
And then Gary went inside.
Well, let's not get there yet. So we found the Yoda fountain, and then C-3PO is actually looking at Yoda.
You can like look
from
up.
The window. Yeah, so if you look to your right and up, and it's like 3 stories up or whatever, you can see a C-3PO staring at the Yoda fountain, which is really cool.
Oh, yeah. So that's all we thought there was.
Yeah, we didn't think you could go inside. And we were sitting there, and this lady comes up, and she's like, can you go inside? And I'm like, I don't know. We didn't even try. We didn't even think to try.
She's like, well, I'm going to try.
We're not very good YouTubers, apparently, because we didn't think to try. But she goes in. And so she goes in. I was like, fudge it. We had an Uber coming.
Yeah, I went to go wait for the Uber.
I'm like, you just wait outside. I'm going to see run in there because I doubt we'd get very far if they let us in. Sure enough, I go into the lobby. The lady doesn't address me or anything because she's talking to somebody else in the corner. So there's a big old like life-size R2-D2 that was there. Super cool. They had a life-size Darth Vader in the corner. And then they had that droid from Rogue One that Alan... what's his name from like Resident Alien stuff. His voice is for the robot from Rogue One, and he was there too, a life size of him. And then they had like master replica prototypes of like lightsabers and stuff. and I'm filming it, and I'm done. I'm literally getting ready to walk out, and these other people come in, and she's like, "Oh, I just need to talk to you for a second," to the other people, and they walk over, and she's like, "There's no filming or anything in here." And I'm like, "Well, you didn't tell me that," and I just kept on walking. It's like, "Calm down."
Yeah. He's like, so we got a quick glance at the inside of LucasArts. So if you guys want to see that,
check out Lost Girl in Tomorrowland on YouTube.
Check out that video.
Really cool. Really, really cool. It would be nice to be able to go further, and it would be nice to have been there when actually George owned them, because I feel like it would be a different experience, because Disney's laid off like a good portion of the people that work there.
Well, also, when COVID happened, they shut down anybody walking in the building, and I was actually quite surprised because nobody had posted that they were allowed to go in since COVID that I could see. So I think that was one of the reasons I didn't really push it, because I was like, it sounds like most people haven't been able to go inside. So, but it was really cool that he got to walk in to LucasArts. And again, it's one of those things where, like Disney, like we love old LucasArts before.
Well, I mean, think about the soundstage and stuff for like the Death Star run and stuff was done there. I mean, that's where it was done.
Yeah.
Like all those scenes were created in that place. The writing was done, maybe not there, but the edits and stuff was done there.
Yeah.
And like just
Hollywood history right there.
And the Yoda fountain's cool too. If you just go for the Yoda fountain, it's worth it too. It's really, he is pretty freaking amazing.
Yep.
And it's better kept up than the parks are lately.
Ain't that the truth?
Baby Ruth.
But yeah, so we did that, and then I think we went back to the hotel, and we had Chinese food that night.
Well, one of those nights we had Chinese food there. We're totally off the date night thing. The Chinese food was great.
Yeah, I liked it. It was actually probably some of the better Chinese food we've had, because it's so hard to find Chinese food in Las Vegas and anywhere really.
Yeah, I think Las Vegas is definitely one of the worst places we had for Chinese food.
Yeah.
But we didn't know where to order, right? And there's so many Chinese food places there that we were just like, we just want to pick one. And we didn't trust the concierge because, again, the first night we got food poisoning. So we didn't want to trust the concierge's choices.
Yep.
So we're just like, we'll go with this one. And we tried it, and it was really tasty.
Yeah, it came in a really cool bag, too.
Yeah.
Came in like a thermal bag, which I've never seen anybody do to go in like a thermal bag. So kudos to that place. Nothing was in English on the bag.
Yeah, we figured that out from Chinatown. We were there. Nothing was in English there.
So couldn't tell you who it was, where it was. I have the receipt, but that's about it.
Yeah, that's about it. Overall, though, San Francisco was a
great
phenomenal
time.
trip. Yeah.
Great time.
So what was your favorite part?
Honestly, still to this day, I think my favorite part was the sea lions. I think those guys were just, to see like a wild animal in their habitat right there, just, I just thought that was so cool. And it didn't cost anything to go and see them. You could just go out there and go sit with the sea lions.
Yeah.
What about you? What was your favorite part?
I would say the sea lions are definitely really high. I really liked going on that double-decker bus across the Golden Gate Bridge, though. I really did. I really enjoyed that part of the trip and being able to just kind of absorb everything. And the weird part that we didn't really talk about is on the other side of the Golden Gate Bridge is just forest. So you're literally just going to like this forested area on the other side of Golden Gate. You go from city of San Fran to this weird interstate because you get on the interstate to go over the bridge, which is surprising. Again, people don't really tell you that either. And then you're in this like weird forested area. That was really nice.
I enjoyed making memories with you.
But I did like the sea lions too. They were really cute.
Yeah, and honestly, there's a couple other things that I think we're interested in potentially coming back to San Francisco and trying. So we mentioned earlier in the podcast about the Chinese food, the Chinatown food tour. I think that would be really fun because, again, I don't know where to start, what to get, what to eat. So I would love for somebody to be like, hey, try this. You're going to love it. I might love it. I might not. But, you know, somebody to kind of help field that conversation. They also have whale watching tours, which I think would be so cool. That's definitely on my list of things that I want to do. I want to do a whale watching tour, whether it's in San Francisco or maybe in Alaska someday, or if we make it up to Washington State again.
There was also like a VW bus tour that we thought was really interesting because they have an old classic VW bus that you hop in and they do a tour for.
Yeah. One thing we've learned about tours around a city, though, is don't get your expectations super high that you're going to see a lot and have a lot of time to do it. If they have a lot on your itinerary, chances are you're going to be in that location for 5 maybe 10 minutes.
Well, that's how I wanted to conclude the podcast. We were going to give you some tips about how to pick tours because we've been all over the country. We've done them in Louisiana. We've done them in
South
Carolina, Las Vegas. We've done them in San Francisco. We've done tours across the country. Yeah. And we definitely have some tips here for you, some legit tips.
So what is legit tip number 1 about tours?
Well, you were talking about length versus stops. So if you see a tour that's only like 2 hours long and they have 15 stops,
yeah,
you're not going to be at those stops for about a couple seconds. I mean, think about it, just basic math.
And think about how many people are going to be on the tour with you, too, because if there's 30 people, it's 2 hours. They got to move, and whether it's a walking tour or a driving tour, that all plays a role into how long you have at each stop.
So length versus stop. One of our recommendations is if you're going for a 2-hour tour, you should really be looking at maybe 5 to 10, less than 10 stops. Otherwise, you're going to be booking it.
Yeah.
And it goes to the second part that Nace just talked about and sort of skipped ahead to, walking versus driving.
Yeah.
If you're walking, you're going to have to go to each stop. So if each stop is a mile between them,
that's
you
a
have
lot
a
of
mile walk. Yes.
And that eats up a lot of your tour time too.
Yep, because that does factor into the 2 hours.
Because we did a VIP ghost tour
VIP
of Charleston, and
there were 30 people.
30 people.
And there was 18 stops.
It was a lot of walking, and
yep.
we flew through the stops. He didn't really talk a whole lot. There were some stops he talked more than others. There were some stops he was like, "Oh, I promise I'll tell you guys about that later." Never circled back to it. So keep that in mind if you're booking a tour and where your expectations are.
Yeah, especially if you just want to see things, tours are okay. Mm-hmm. Like if you just want a general sort of sight of the city, getting a better understanding of where some things are, it might be worth it.
Yep.
If you're actually looking to gain knowledge or you have knowledge of a city, you're going to have to pick a tour really specifically, and your best bet is probably to get your own tour guide.
Yeah, and that's something we've talked about too, about some of the places we've been and we've done these general tours is going back and maybe doing a private tour where we just have that guide and maybe we have other people with us. I would say hopefully no more than 10 people with us total. Because once you have more than 10 people in a group, it gets very hard to have that connection, that openness to like ask questions or ask them to explain more about something.
Well, think when you're in like a classroom setting, all of us have been in classroom settings at one point, right? If there's only like 5 or 10 people in the class, it's easy to ask the teacher questions. You know, mm-hmm. It's easy to engage and have a conversation, and they might actually even get to know you. Mm-hmm. But if you're in a class of 30 to 50 people, most of the time your teacher has no idea who you are.
You're just a number.
So it's the same thing with these tour guides.
Yep.
And you have to take into account if you're walking and you have a ton of people, or if you're driving and you have a ton of people, they have to get everybody on and off those buses, or they have to make sure they're all there before they start talking. And so some people walk at different paces, some people are slow, some people are fast. So all of those things take against that 2-hour mark that you have too.
Yeah, agreed.
And another legit tip is, how do you take in information? So you have to think about yourself here. If you take information verbally very well and you understand things, then tours might be your way. But if you want to read stuff or you want to pause and like take pictures and stuff like that, and that's how you sort of consume information yourself, tours are not good for you.
Yeah. Or a private tour maybe.
A private tour would be better, yes.
Probably be more up your speed to where you can kind of go at your own pace, so to speak.
Because like Nacy said, with our tour, specifically in South Carolina, it was probably one of our worst tours. He would just ramble. And he would be a good like 20 yards in front of you just talking. And then he'd say, "Oh, get back to that." And then blah, 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 blah. Never come back to the first point. Mm-hmm. Never really touch on anything in significance. And you could tell all of this stuff was rehearsed and said so many times that he goes through it like super quick because he's just spitting out his memorization.
Yep.
So if that's something you like or that's something you want to see, it might be helpful. Or if it's like your first time there and you're just getting some general information. But if you are knowledgeable on it, like I can't imagine being like, let's take a tour for the, like Gettysburg, and you're a Gettysburg expert. You go there, those tours aren't going to do you any good.
They're not going to do crap. You could probably give a tour better than most people. Honestly, the other thing I would say too is if there's an area you're going to and you want to learn more about it, always go check out your local library. Find a couple books. You might learn a couple of things before you go there. Always, too, I think the interesting thing that we were starting to do more of is doing our own research about areas and learning things that maybe nobody's ever been to. Like when we did our Route 66 road trip, which we're going to talk about in a future podcast,
So definitely subscribe if you want to hear that.
We found some restaurants that were just run of the mill, like random places that were really cool, really good food, and we never would have found it if we hadn't done a little digging ourselves.
And kind of piggybacking on that library thing too, a legit tip here is if you go to individual exhibits, like say, like with South Carolina, they went past like the state house, well, not the state house, the marketplace where they basically sold slaves. We actually went to that after the tour. They said the exact same things that the tour people said. So basically, the tour people just went there, stole their shtick, and then gave it to you really quickly. Whereas when you're there, you can ask a bunch of questions about it.
Yeah.
So know that if you take these tours, a lot of times you're going to hear the same thing that you're going to hear somewhere else.
Agreed. And just know a lot of times too, when you go into it, it's a tourist trap.
Yeah.
A lot of times they take a lot of money from a lot of people. But as long as you have fun with it, you probably can't go wrong.
Yeah. Our biggest, I think, legit tips is set your sights low.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other legit tip is if you're going to take a tour, just use it to get your bearings.
Yep.
Then go to individual things that you want to go to and actually get consumed in them, because the tour guides aren't going to take their times on this certain stuff that you want to say.
Agreed. Yeah. But we've had a lot of fun.
And we've had a lot of fun, and we've done a lot of tours and stuff lately.
And so I think that's going to wrap up this month's podcast.
It is.
And
thank you for joining us.
This is for the month of June, so we just wanted to say Happy Father's Day to you.
Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there and all the fathers who don't know their fathers. Happy Father's Day to you too.
Or maybe you're a pup dad or a cat dad. Who knows?
Or a hamster dad or a fish dad. Whatever.
Or just daddy.
Just daddy. Make sure they're labeled differently in your phone, ladies, because you don't want to be sending those texts to daddy and go to the wrong one.
Anyways, we hope you guys enjoyed listening along to us talk about our adventures, and we'll be back next month.
Yeah, we've got a whole round 66 stories to tell you all next month, so definitely subscribe to hear those.
And make sure you follow us wherever podcasts are. We're everywhere.
Yeah, and if you want to follow us on YouTube, it's Lost Girl in Tomorrowland, and that shows all the videos that we're doing too about these fantastic events.
And leave us a comment if you guys have anything to say. Positive, negative. We love any feedback.
Or any sites that you want us to see in the future. Otherwise, we'll see you on the next one.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.